you can hardly see the meninges on a sheep, but you can see two of the meningeal layers real clearly on a human. There's the dura mater, and that's the arachnoid mater right there. The arachnoid has blood vessels. The pia mater is deep to that, and it follows all the contours. You can hardly tell it's there. It's really thin. Okay, the falx cerebri. The dura mater dips down into, there's a longitudinal fissure right here that separates the hemispheres, and the dura mater slips down in there all the way along it. That's the falx cerebri. I have a falx cerebri right here, dura mater, and you see that? You see this thing right there? That is, huh?
I'm sorry, is this dura mater?
I'm sure it is, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is dura mater from somebody's brain. Okay. And they're not using it anymore. And this is the falx cerebri right there. See that?
How do you spell that?
It's the second one on the list.
Just copy it onto here. Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do. That's all right. Okay. There is also an extension of dura mater between the cerebellum, which is this, and the cerebrum, which is this. In other words, right in there. That's called a transverse fissure. There's dura mater in there. It's called the tentorium cerebelli. Are you taking pictures?
That one, no.
Okay, good.
Just that one.
Can we record it though?
You can record it, but we're not allowed to do pictures.
No, no pictures.
Okay, so that's the tentorium cerebelli in there. Okay. The telencephalon is the cerebrum. And it's got two hemispheres, and here they both are, one and the other, on a sheep brain. They're right there, left hemisphere and right hemisphere. Okay. There's a longitudinal fissure between the hemispheres. Right there. Each one of these little hills is a gyrus, and each one of the valleys between the hills is a sulcus. All done? Had enough? No, here. Is my room open? Why don't you just slip it under the door? That'll keep it cleaner. Thank you. So, gyrus, sulcus. Plural is gyri and sulci. Gray matter and white matter. We've been talking about that in lecture enough. Let me show you some. I took and cut the end off of this sheep brain, and if you take a look there, you can see the different colors. See that? Okay, the light-colored matter is white matter, and the dark-colored matter is gray matter. Notice the gray matter is peripheral, superficial to the white matter. The white matter is deep. Unless you go into the spinal cord, then it's reversed. The gray matter is deep, and the white matter is superficial. That's just the way it is. Okay. The lobes of the brain. You can't see the lobes of the brain on a sheep brain. You really do need a human brain for that. And let's see what to do here. Let me see if I can find. There was one. Let's see here. This one. Well, I'll use this one. Take a look here. You can see this sulcus, the big old huge sulcus right there, that's called the central sulcus. And this is called the lateral sulcus right there. The central sulcus divides the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe. The lateral sulcus divides the temporal lobe from the other two. And then way back here in the back, underneath the dura mater, is an occipital lobe. So these lobes of the brain are named after the bones of the skull that they're found under.
So we don't...
So do we have to think about the part that separates?
Oh, you bet. Yeah.
I didn't see that on here.
Well, it's in
It's on the human brain.
It's in there.
Can you repeat it? Sorry.
Yes. What bone is this right here?
Frontal.
Frontal bone. So what lobe is that?
Frontal lobe.
Frontal lobe. What bone is this? Right
Temporal
here?
lobe.
Parietal lobe.
Parietal.
No, temporal lobe would be here.
Parietal.
Temporal lobe, temporal bone,
Parietal.
parietal bone, parietal lobe, occipital bone, occipital lobe.
The separator.
Yeah, there are two sulci, central sulcus and lateral sulcus.
It divides frontal lobe from, sorry,
Can you repeat that again? It
Repeat
divides
what?
from central sulcus. It divides frontal lobe
From what would it divide it from? It's a good question.
So
for a
lateral
test.
separates the sulcus. Lateral.
That's okay. This
temporal
is
from-
what lobe?
From temporal.
That's the
And then the central.
What lobe would this one be? So what lobe does it? What lobes are divided by the central sulcus? Frontal, parietal. Yeah. And what lobes are divided? While we're on the subject, what lobes are divided by the lateral sulcus?
Parietal and
The parietal and the frontal are divided from the temporal. Yeah. I'm dripping all over the place. Can't help it.
I don't mind.
No good. Okay, the diencephalon. Remember, the diencephalon is derived from the second secondary vesicle. Remember the first secondary vesicle was Mickey Mouse ears. Those became the two hemispheres, the two cerebral hemispheres. And right below that's no cerebellum's down here, down farther. Right here, this is diencephalon. And that becomes, it's got the third ventricle inside it. And it's I'll show you what it is. Here, let me pick this guy up. It's this region right in there. That's diencephalon. There.
Is that
See
under the brain?
the optic chiasma? Yeah, the floor of it's under the brain, sure is. And all this business, that's all diencephalon right
Where
around
is the
it.
optic chiasma?
You show me. Where is it?
Would it be the cross?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Be this thing right here. This thing?
Yeah, it's right here. It would be this.
Okay.
Yes. There would be an eyeball here and an eyeball here.
So you said the diencephalon is that.
This region of the brain.
Lateral divides.
You can see
Yeah,
another
you're right.
cranial nerve. This cranial nerve right here is the olfactory nerve. That's the first cranial nerve. There's the olfactory bulb, and there's the olfactory tract. The bulb and the tract make the nerve. There's one on both sides. Okay. Diencephalon. The optic chiasm or chiasma. I think your lab book calls it a chiasma with an A on there. The pituitary gland. We don't have a pituitary gland on any of these because it got left behind when we pulled them out of the cranium. But we do have a hole in the brain where we pulled the tree out by its roots, that sort of thing. It left a big gaping hole, and there it is right there. The stem of the pituitary gland came out there, right there, right behind the optic chiasma. Right there.
I totally
You're not
lost it.
photographing this, are you?
The central sulcus separates the frontal from the parietal.
That stem is called the infundibulum. The infundibulum in the female reproductive tract was a completely different thing, but the same name, so don't let that throw you. Infundibulum. So if I stick a pin in there and ask you what came out, I want you to tell me either infundibulum or pituitary gland. Okay. Around that jagged hole is an area of diencephalon. That area right around there is called the tuber cinereum. Mammillary bodies. On the sheep brain, on this sheep brain, they're pretty well picked apart. There's mammillary bodies right there. I need to go get another sheep brain with a better mammillary body. I'm going to go dig one out of the bag. I'll be right back.
And what's the function of a mammillary body?
Mammillary body has to do with memories that are memories that are sparked by an odor that you smell that carry with them a very strong emotional charge. Did you ever smell freshly made cotton candy that reminded you of being a little kid at the carnival with happy memories? Okay, then did you ever smell anything that smelled like your grandmother's house?
Yeah.
And it brought you back memories?
Yeah.
That's the mammillary bodies in action. They can be, or did you ever drive through and smell a skunk?
Yeah.
and remember smelling it as a little kid for the first time, or something.